This here's the Bouse Guide to Dragon Knight. You're welcome.
So, you want to play Dragon Knight like a bouse? Well, my friend, you've come to the right place. However, first of all, you better make sure you know what you're getting yourself into when you pick Dragon Knight. This hero is like a can of whoop ass that's ready and capable of sending your entire enemy team to the graveyard. Now, if you still think you can handle that, keep watching. Otherwise, just go play Ricky. Before we begin, as with every hero, there are many different ways to build Dragon Knight depending on the situation, and being able to adapt to your particular game is crucial to high-level play. However, this build I'm about to show you right now is hands down the best and the only true way to play Dragon Knight like a bouse. Let's go. Starting off, you want to buy 3 tangos, a quelling blade, 2 ironwood branches, and gaunts of strength. Heading out to your lane, preferably you want to make sure that your lane partner is a ranged support hero, or at the very least, a hero with a slow or a stun. This way you're going to have an easier time farming as well as be able to set up kills early on. Now you want to skill your Dragon's Tail as your first skill, as this move stuns for an insanely long 2.5 seconds at level 1, which is already longer than most stuns at level 4. What a bouse! This move is great to set up first blood kills or saving you from a tight spot in the early game. Alright, now onto the early game skill build. You want to max out your third skill, Dragon's Blood, first. The reason for this is because it gives you insane survivability in the early game, when the additional HP regeneration and armor boost are the most effective. This skill will make you so bouse in the early game that you will be able to laugh at enemy harassment while you are farming creeps, eat early game spells for breakfast, and man up in those early game fights and make them regret that they didn't call GG as soon as you pick Dragon Knight. Now onto the early game items. You can never go wrong with going Power Treads first on Dragon Knight. This guy has less than average move speed, so you're going to want to accommodate for that as soon as possible. Plus, Power Treads on Strength provide damage, attack speed, and even more tanking ability in the early game. Now afterwards, you're going to want to make a Helm of the Dominator. This item is going to give you more armor, lifesteal to your attacks, and additional damage. It also lets you control a creep, which will become a critical farming tool for Dragon Knight, as I will elaborate on in a later section. Side note, a real bouse can farm both Power Treads and Helm of the Dominator by no later than 15 minutes. If you can't, then either you're not a real bouse, then in which case, why are you playing Dragon Knight, or you aren't last hitting well enough and you need to step up your game, son. Alright, so on to early game gameplay. In the early game, you are both a durable tank and a carry that needs to farm creeps, which can seem like conflicting roles, but this dual role is what makes Dragon Knight such a bouse. Now, because you're a carry, you need to prioritize getting the last hits on creeps constantly in your lane. You do not need to leave your lane to help gank another lane, because you're much more beneficial to your team in the long run if you just stay put and get farmed. That being said, however, if your opponents are just asking for it in your lane, do not hesitate to man up and own them like the bouse that you are and whoop their asses, especially if your lane partner has a slow or a stun. With your Dragon's Blood, you are one of the most durable early game heroes. That, coupled with your insanely long stun, you can easily set up kills in your lane. Just make sure you don't get carried away looking for those kills. This is crucial. In the early game, you want to react to your opponent's aggression more than initiate the aggression, because your first priority in your lane is getting creep kills. Now onto your skills in the mid game. After you maxed out Dragon's Blood, you want to max out Breath of Fire and then max Dragon's Tail last. Of course, getting your ultimate every single chance you can at levels 6, 11, and 16. Now, Breath of Fire will help you farm creeps as well as do massive damage in fights, while your Dragon's Tail at level 1 is still plenty adequate until you max out Breath of Fire first. Alright, now I'm going to talk about mid-game farming for just a little bit. Now, earlier I said that the Helm of the Dominator will become a crucial farming tool. Here's what I meant. As soon as you have this, you need to use its active ability to control a strong neutral creep. Then send this creep to your Ancients and start stacking Ancients. If you don't know what this is, the Ancient creeps are these creeps that give you a lot more gold and experience, and pulling them at the 53-second mark away from the camp will allow another camp to spawn there on the minute mark, therefore stacking them. Now do this twice until you have 3 stacks of Ancient creeps total. While you are doing this, continue to farm both in the lane and in the jungle. Now once you hit level 11 and get your ultimate to level 2, use your ultimate to go kill the Ancient creep stacks, as now you have splash damage in Dragon mode. Now after this point is where Dragon Knight explodes in farming potential. You now have 3 avenues to farm. in the lane, in the jungle, and the best farm of all, stacking ancients. Take advantage of this and farm like a boss! Bounce from lane to jungle to ancients. And remember, it is absolutely crucial to remember to constantly stack ancients and kill them off with your ultimate when there are stacks of 3 to 4. Now, this method of farming is what will unleash the 1 versus 5 capable mega carry that is Dragon Knight, and is what separates a boss Dragon Knight from an intern Dragon Knight. Alright, in terms of mid-game items, a Black King bar is what you want to farm first. This item is going to give you additional strength, additional damage, as well as magic immunity for a short amount of time, and allows you to be a huge asset to your team in team fights. However, keep in mind that your potential is not yet reached with just this item. After Black King bar, your next item is going to be Satanic. Now, if you thought being a boss was sweet, welcome to Super Boss status! As soon as you get this, you are done prioritizing farming creeps. You now farm heroes in team fights. This item synergizes amazingly with Dragon Knight. Not only does it give you amazing HP and damage, it gives you a passive 25% lifesteal, as well as an active ability that gives you a ridiculous 175% lifesteal for 3.5 seconds. Now remember that in Dragon mode, you do splash damage in a massive area. Now regular heroes usually don't gain lifesteal from splash damage. However, because Dragon Knight is such a boss, he laughs at the constraints of regular heroes and gets lifesteal from his splash damage anyways. This will allow you to heal ridiculous amounts of HP during those team fights, all while opening a giant can of whoop-ass on the entire enemy team. However, Satanic is one of the most expensive items in the game, so you cannot fall behind on farming, and you especially do not want to be an intern Dragon Knight and forget to stack the ancients. You should have no problem getting this item around 30 minutes if you remembered to stack ancients. Alright, onto mid-game gameplay. Until you have Satanic, farming is still your priority. Remember to stay out of sight and not get ganked, as you have no escape ability. If you remember to stack ancients like a boss and stick to jungling, you should have no problems with gold and should set your goal to have your Black King bar around 22 minutes and Satanic, like I said, around 30 minutes. Also, if you realize that the enemy team has found out about your ancient stacks, you need to rally your entire team to come and defend them. You cannot let the enemy team steal your ancient stacks without punishing them for it. Now, in the mid game, your team will expect you to help out in team fights, and as soon as you have your Black King bar, you become a huge asset to your team. Dragon Knight is the definition of manning up, meaning during a team fight, you pop your ultimate and your Black King bar and run headfirst into the fray. Just keep attacking everything. Remember, you're a dragon, and most of all, a boss. Dragon Knight? Psh, more like Dragon Boss. So whatever you do, don't even think about backing out unless you've whooped the entire enemy team and sent what's left of them scrambling home, or that you see your entire team is dead. Now, even if you know you're gonna die, as long as your teammates are still fighting, just man up and try to get as much damage done as possible before you die. Also, I shouldn't even have to say this, but you should never team fight without your ultimate. Why would you ever want to fight as a knight when you can turn into a dragon? Come on! Alright, so on to the late game. In terms of items, after you get Satanic, you should always have money for a buyback. This is crucial for any carry late game, as you can lose instantly if you die at an inopportune time. Now, aside from buyback, aim for these 3 items: Daedalus, Heart of Tarask, and Assault Cuirass. It depends on your game which one you want first, and whether you need to hit harder, faster, or become even more tanky. They are all great items. Alright, now onto late game gameplay. At this stage of the game, you are the boss of team fights. So stick with your team and try to force the enemy team into team fights. Your strategy during team fights should be along these lines. First, pop your ultimate and Black King bar as you man up into the fight and crack open that can of whoop-ass like a boss. Now, at any time during the fight, if you see the enemy carry in a vulnerable position or that he has been disabled, you need to ignore whoever else you were killing and focus him down. Otherwise, pick off crucial enemy heroes such as ones with a lot of disables or heals. Once you drop below half HP, use your Satanic as you continue to attack and watch your HP heal tremendously fast with each attack you unleash. Now, after a team fight or 2 in the late game, there are 3 different scenarios that you will likely find yourself in. Number 1,
You farm like a bouse, and therefore feel like a bouse during team fights. You destroy everyone and relish in their tears, their rage, and their cries of imbalance. If this is the case, good job, bouse. You've won.
Scenario number 2.
You farm like an intern, and therefore cannot get your late game items and feel like an intern, completely failing out of team fights. If this is the case, the game is out of your control, and you have failed. Also, you're fired.
Scenario number 3.
You farm like a bouse, but your team has also fed like a bouse while you were farming, so things are pretty even in team fights between you and the enemy carry. In this case, you need to do something to tip the game in your favor, obviously. Try setting up a gank on an out of position enemy and then forcing a fight 4 vs 5, maybe going for Roshan, or even faking Roshan and then ambushing the enemy. It's a trap! Just remember, you are the boss of the game now. That means you are in control and you get to make the decisions that will either win you or lose you the game. Alright, now that's it for this bouse guide to Dragon Knight. What are you still doing here? Hurry up and go pick Dragon Knight before somebody else does and pose whatever hero you have to end up playing.
Alright, now on a real note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and find it both helpful and entertaining. Also, check out these real testimonials from real internet people from the last boss guide. And as always, if you like this and want to see more, show some love by liking, commenting, maybe sharing your own success or failure stories with this guide, and of course, subscribing.